All right, we'll make a start now. Hello and welcome to this very special broadcast. I'm Nick Wasiliev, host of Booktopia's podcast, Tell Me What to Read. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of the land in which we meet. And I'm recording on Wongal country today, and I'm paying my respects to all elders, past, present and emerging. And I extend this to any First Nations people watching. This is taking place during Booktoberfest, which is Booktopia's annual festival celebrating the best of new and upcoming titles. And on cue, we have one of the biggest titles of the year, which is the one and only Jimmy Rees for his book, The Guy Who Decides. Jimmy, welcome.
G'day, mate. Nice to meet you. Like officially, but like over the airwaves. Hang on, there we go. Yeah.
There we go. Sorry, I should have done it the other way around. Yes. Nice to see you. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Yeah, what's happening?
Oh, not much, but we're here to talk about your brand new book, The Guy Who Decides. For everyone listening, you can actually go and order a signed copy. Yes, I have my copy here as well. Let me see if I can get it online. Isn't it beautiful? Jason doesn't recommend it though, but I think it's great. So yeah, for everyone listening, we do still have signed copies available. So if you head to the link in the description, you should be able to go and get a signed copy of Jimmy's book. And I want to first of all say thank you so much for coming into Booktopia to sign something like 2,000 copies. How did your hand feel after that?
Yeah, definitely the first signatures I think were a bit different to the last ones. Lucky I made it easy for myself anyway. It's like, whoa, squiggle. Yeah, no, it's funny. I was having this discussion the other day where I just filmed a series of like Taskmaster. Anyway, one of the tasks was to write, like I won't give anything away, but it involved a lot of handwriting. And I'm like, I am not used to that. Everything's typed these days. And my hand was sore, just like after signing books, which gave me a little bit, like a little bit of strength back in the hands. But obviously, I just realized I don't do much handwriting these days.
It is a very strange feeling when you're so used to typing and then suddenly you've got to sign 2,000 books. Yeah, absolutely. I also want to just say congratulations, by the way. You have been having such a crazy year and you've been touring around. You've been going around doing a tour, I think something like 20-something dates. You sold all of them out. And the show on Binge, I just want to add, the show on Binge. What was it like seeing it on Binge? Yeah, under the category Shut Up, Jason.
Oh, yeah. I know. How funny. Kudos to the person at Binge. So for anyone who didn't see that, I did a live stage show bringing some of my characters and skits and stuff to the stage, toured around the country, which was magnificent. And thanks to everyone who came out and saw the show. We filmed it, Binge, and then it's for Binge, and it's on Binge, the Binge platform at the moment. And under the descriptors, it had like Australian comedy, stand-up, Shut Up, Jason. Like, is that a search term? So kudos to the person at Binge who just put that in there. And to all the Jasons out there, well, just shut up, all right? We won't listen anyway.
I love it. I love all of the people who, I'm just looking at all of our comments right now and everyone is just going crazy for Jason. Shout out to everyone. So I want to ask about this amazing book, The Guy Who Decides. How did this book come about? Because you've created some amazing, really fun characters online, and you've gone viral on TikTok, wherever you can go viral, you've gone viral. Sellout shows. Why a book? Why now? Out of curiosity.
Yeah, look, I Affirm Press, the publisher, approached me it was probably a couple of years ago now, but about some children's books, which was kind of like a natural progression from working on kids TV for 10 years. And then, I started doing the skits in 2020 and then, so a lady sort of from a firm reached out to me and said, hey, we should do some kids books. So we published a couple of kids books. And then we were like, well, maybe we could do a book for adults as well. And it just sort of like was a kernel of an idea. And I thought, what would I put in there? I don't know. And then, so obviously it's just, I mean, in the book is like the guy decides is, the character who just decides whatever. And every time you think of a topic, I'm like, there's something stupid about it. But if you look at it from take a bird's eye view of it, you're like, that is weird and that is stupid. And who did decide that? Off the back of all the videos and stuff, I thought, well, how about I put them in a written sort of form, and you can have this dialogue in the book and have a bit of fun with the layout of it and the text and everything. And there's a back and forth between Jason and the guy decides in more of a script form. I had all the scripts just sitting around, and we thought, let's just we can obviously meld them into what it would look like on the page rather than videos and stuff, and added some bits and pieces of other things that I'd done over the past few years. So yeah, I think it's just, and the other thing is like, over the past few years, people have just wanted a laugh, right? You know, and it's been apparent that, you know, through the videos I've done or whatever, and the reach that they've had, I've been blown away, firstly. But when I meet people in public and doing my show, and they just wanted to thank goodness for some, you know, not just me, but the people who are sort of bringing light to these unprecedented times, you know. So, yeah, people had a great appreciation for just having a bit of, you know, fun with it all. So this is a slower way to digest, because my videos are like quick cuts and it's like, crazy. That's it's a bit of a slow way. Pick something up, have a bit of a laugh, put it back. You know, one of those kind of, fun books that you can just sort of pick up and put down and not read cover to cover, really. It's just, you can if you want, but you might go insane a little bit just going like, where am I? Who am I?
It does. I love all of these fun characters you've created, and you're absolutely right in terms of just how it made, you know, the amount of times that, you know, people I know would send me a fun little video and it's just you with all of the work and all of the stuff that you did with those quick cut videos. It would cheer people up. It cheered people up so much. And obviously creating a book, again, is a lot very different to creating a show or a video. What were kind of some of the challenges you had? You know, were there actually, I'm imagining there would be some jokes and comment or things that you had where it actually lent themselves better to actually being on the page more than kind of in a video.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing that, you know, obviously the beauty of the book is like you could interpret things your own way. And, you know, like obviously if you've been shown something, that's the way that people visualize it or whatever. But I know these characters sort of exist, but a lot of people, feedback over the past couple of years, whatever, is like, oh, we recite your things like at home, and we sort of go along the lines of playing the characters at the dinner table or whatever it is. And we pick up the martini. Here we go. I've got it here. We pick up the glass and we become the guy at the sides. If someone in the household is called Jason, then it's fine. But, you know, Jason's kind of like a container for people who are being too wise and smart for their own britches, really. Shut up, Jason! So, so it was fun to like put it. Some of the bits are just like a script. It's literally like you could act it out if you really wanted to with your friend, with another family member or something. And you know, and those, you know, some of them have little sort of stage directions, slurp, spits, drink, you know, stuff like that. So you could kind of, you know, it's like a screenplay as well. But some of the things, you're right. Some of the things were felt a bit better on the book, or you could elaborate a little bit more. And yeah, I guess if you're reading something, it's completely different to just sort of watching it. And yeah, just to digest things a little slower, and the way that you know that people consume it might be completely different to just, you know, the way that I've been doing it online. And yeah, some of the things in there, like the issue, like you said, what were some of the things that you got sort of stuck with or whatever? I think the sheer size of like, they're like, yeah, you can write an adult book. Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. And everyone was like, yeah, we can do that. Yeah. I'm like, sweet, it's 65,000 words or something. Like, but the kids book was 450 words. I was like, okay, all right. Yeah. All right. Well, we're bunkering down and we're doing this. Yeah. So I had a friend actually who, it's funny, I'd work with his sister, and anyway, it was just kind of one of these things that we ran to. Works at a firm, and he's like, I can help you out and stuff. And because obviously the structure of it was something that was a bit hard to, you know, bring. It's like you said before, bring something from the screen or like social media to the stage. Well, then bring that again to the, you know. But these things actually start off as scripts. I'm kind of always writing scripts and things, and some things if there's, you know, there's a lot of skits in there that are videos, but when I wrote them down, they're completely different to the video, because the written form seems a little different to, like, I would explain things a little bit more in my scripts, or I would write little notes to myself, and we sort of like kept a little bit of that in, and whether there's a back and forth or things are added in the video, but not necessarily the script and things like that. So yeah, it was kind of a bit of a process, even just putting together a video. It's, the whole script sort of writing thing is different as well. So that kind of comes through in the book, I guess, too.
Absolutely. It's some of these jokes just made me like laugh absolutely all crazy, like whenever I saw it. I also just want to shout out the fact that you have a glass just ready to go already.
Yeah,
right here.
No water glass.
I love it, and it's here straight for any Jasons in the comments. I believe getting ready
Oh,
to go.
Jason's here. Hello. What? Let me just read some comments. Oh, they all told me to shut up. Okay, all right. I'll go then. Fine, see ya.
Do you have a particular character that you enjoy playing the most? Is there any that kind of really stick out whenever you're on stage or?
The guy decides is pretty funny just because you can be completely obnoxious and the funny thing on the stage is, I don't know, and I think a lot of comedians or actors even or some people who play characters or whatever will attest to the fact that sometimes literally it's me holding a glass and changing my voice, but and it's not a transformation at all, to be honest. But when you assume like the character or something, I just feel like you could say anything. And you in your brain, there's the confines of the character, which you're like, oh yeah, he could say that. I would never say that. I wouldn't be obnoxious like that as myself. But under the guise of this, I think in my show, I just sort of sit down, pick up the glass, and go, "That wasn't a big enough applause. Applaud me again!" And the whole audience applauds. And if I said to stand up and give a standing ovation, they would. But it's just so stupid that they're like, "We're invested in this character." It's kind of silly. So that kind of stuff is so fun to just sort of slip in and out of. I think one of the other ones is in the Meanwhile in Australia kind of videos I've been doing. I really enjoy just personifying the stupid things. A lot of people come up to me and it's like, "Oh, your impression of a magpie is spot on." I'm like, okay. I put a hat on and pulled a funny face, and I'm like, yeah, I just had an attitude of a magpie, what I thought a magpie was like. And I don't know, stuff like that is kind of funny because it kind of makes me laugh that, yeah, people get invested in these kind of silly little things, just me with a headband on, but I don't know.
I absolutely love some of these characters. The packaging lady, oh my God! Like the amount of times that I've gone, okay, you've gotten too close. You've gotten too close to how accurate it is. Never ceases to make me laugh, and particularly just seeing how people reacted to that online. Have there been any reactions whenever you've seen people react to some of the characters that you've created that have even surprised you?
Yeah, a lot of people just share things and say, "This is you," which is funny. I find funny, and I guess the one of the things which I don't know, I think I don't know if I've got a good filter for it or something. I don't really know, but just getting the like the shopping list videos I've been doing, the POV or from whatever, or you're into this or whatever. A lot of people share those and are just like, this is completely me or you or whatever. And I don't know. I think it's that relatability to people, but also being, just holding a glass or just putting or glasses on or something was almost born out of necessity and laziness because, well, all these things I started doing in the pandemic, and I just literally nicked them out of my out of my wife's wardrobe, a scarf or whatever. But in a way, I think it's almost like, if you watched improvisation or something, they don't have much to work with in such a short space of time. So I like the fact that it is just more about the mannerisms or something and a headband, and it's not like going full prosthetics, everything, to become a character. I like the challenge of just changing a voice and putting on an accent or something and just making it kind of silly. And then and it's a little stereotypical. A lot of people, I've done some, in my show, there's a bogan sort of character, and I put a title up and it just says the bogan town sort of the local area that I'm in. So if you're in Sydney, it might be like Wollongong or something, or in Melbourne, it's definitely Frankston. And in all the different capital cities, and people just go bananas for a local reference, and there are some horrific sunglasses and some hoodies in that area, or something, So it's, I think, I don't know what it is, that sort of relatability or something that is, or is trying to, push the buttons of that is kind of interesting.
It's like you have that character or that caricature. There's someone that somebody knows somewhere, and immediately you just hook onto it. I think it's absolutely hilarious whenever you pull out a character from Wollongong or pull out a character from wherever. And that's
it. I mean, I got the Brighton Ladies, which is literally me a scarf and pretending I've had Botox, darlings, you know, or lip fillers. And, you know, everyone sort of has an area like that as well. It's like, you know, it's obviously over the top, but you can see that in real life. And, you know, there is a bit of like, oh, I'm a bit hoity-toity and you know, I feel like I'm a cut above the rest. But also that comes with its comedy, but also its relatability, because someone might. The thing I found too is, especially doing the "You're from the Gold Coast, you're from whatever" videos, is that people really love to laugh at themselves. And if you, I think it's in a nice way, pointing out your flaws or the things that happen in your town in the nicest way. I think it's easy to sort of, you know, punch down, I guess, and be like, "You're all a bunch of bogans," and whatever, you know, something. But I don't know. I think it's more interesting to be like, "Oh well, this is what we like," you know. I've been to these places.
True.
I literally grew up in Frankston, like basically hanging out in Frankston. I'm like, it's a, you know, that's like the butterball jokes in Melbourne, you know. But you've been around it and whatever, and that's, yeah. I think it's funny to just acknowledge, and I think people like that sort of, that it's taking the mickey, but in a nice kind of way, and going, hey,
Yeah.
well, let's admit it, we are a bit bogan.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always that's I think is what makes it so much fun, because just embracing the flaws. And on the subject of that, on the subject of the shopping assistant from Hell character, who I absolutely love, if Jimmy Rees, the person, was approaching her, what do you think would she be putting into the bag?
10 years of sideburns. Boop. First month, talking to being like ridiculously good at talking to owls, which is the weird thing. I don't know. A headband, a tie, 7,000 pairs of glasses, mild to moderate proficiency at accents, but maybe not the South African one. I don't know. What else would there be? Yeah, stealing things out of your wife's, or like,
Yeah, I was going to ask.
your son going to school and being asked, "What does your dad do?" And he's like, "Oh, he's just a complete idiot." Beep. I don't know.
I'm loving Emmy B's. I'm loving Emmy B's comment here. 10,000 different voices. That's what she's throwing in there as well.
Throw an eyebrow, a left eyebrow that's not as high as the right eyebrow. I worked on that before, obviously.
Absolutely. Oh, and gin. Thank you, Fiona. I just saw Fiona's comment. She just said add some gin in there as well.
Oh, gin, definitely gin. Can I just shout out to Fiona? Fiona's one of my biggest fans. It's her birthday. I think it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Fiona. Thank you for all your comments. I've met Fiona a couple of times at the shows as well. You're a sweetheart, Fiona. Thanks.
Oh, bless. Before we do have an audience Q&A session coming up, so for everyone listening, you can feel free to post any questions that you might want to have to Jimmy. Finally, Jimmy, as the last little question that I want to ask you, what's up next for you? This book is going everywhere. The tour is doing really, really well. Obviously, everyone is loving all of the great videos that you're putting out online. What will we see next?
Well, things are quite busy. I'm glad some things are out there, because it's been quite busy over the year, pretty much. Always trying to, you know, pump out the videos. You know, like just try and. I think that's one of my favorite things to do is try and think of new ideas and get some videos out there. Comedy videos. That's always fun. And you know, like, glad the book's out there, and the special, like, the tour's actually just come to an end in the last couple of weeks, so that's kind of woohoo. That's kind of, yeah, come wound up for now. So hopefully planning something for next year. Yeah, like a show came up recently, which Taskmaster, which will be on Channel 10 screens next year. That's sort of in production at the moment. We've sort of recorded half of it. If you don't know Taskmaster, there's a British version. We're doing an Aussie version of the format, and it's from the bits that I've recorded at the moment. I don't know. It's kind of right up my alley, but I know how the show goes, and I'm like, I'm gonna look like a complete fool on the TV. But hey, I do that myself anyway. So that's for next year. There's a little bit more recording to do with that. Hopefully some more silly ideas, and you know, and bring some things. I've got, and hopefully write a new comedy show we can take out on the road for next year. Maybe another book. I don't know. Actually, I've got another kids book coming out. I think that's next year, early next year as well. And yeah, I also have 3 children, and Just a holiday. A holiday will definitely be on the cards in January. And yeah.
It's exciting. There's so much to watch, and I reckon everyone who's here today will be really excited to see what happens next. And
can I just guarantee one? I'll just guarantee one thing that I won't be doing. I'll guarantee one thing I will not be doing. I've got some TV coming next year. We've got more videos, whatever. Hopefully, grow these channels and things and do some more things. I'm not doing a podcast. I will never do a podcast. I'm not doing a podcast. I will not conform to every other damn celebrity. You don't even have to be a celebrity. You got no.
Love it. I love it. So for everyone who's listening, you can drop in some questions now. We'll throw it out to the audience who are watching today. I've actually got a couple from our Facebook announcement, Instagram announcement post rather. The first one is from Johnny Fakes. Why do you use the name Jason? Is it based on someone in your life somehow?
Well, I think at the time I was in lockdown. I was producing these sort of videos kind of on my phone or an old camera that I had. Then I remember doing a series of kind of little videos. It was mainly focused around like the themed names that people choose when they start a family. You know, they might have, you know, Jessica, Jerry, Jason, Jeff, and Georgia, or Porsche, Mercedes, Ferrari, Maserati, and Kia. I don't know, for instance. And I thought, as a contrast to those, so I was rattling off all these silly names that, you know, maybe people have picked a theme for their family, which is fine. It just sounds funny when you say like 20 of them. And I thought the contrast would be the name Jason, because it's like Bentley, Mercedes, Porsche, Maserati, get in the Kia, and where's your brother Jason? You know, it's just like a completely contradictory name to all of the theme. Like they've stuck with the theme, they haven't gone with the theme. And then and there are a couple of Jasons who have been in my life. Actually, there's a guy who I did the Giggle and Hoot tours with when we first hit the road doing some stage shows of Giggle and Hoot back in the day. The lighting designer was Jason. And there was another audio guy who was actually Jason as well. So that we're always yelling, Jason, shut up, Jason, Jason. You know, this is before I even had any of these thoughts. And I think I was just sort of transfixed on the name of Jason being like a name that's just such contrast. I don't know if it's like people probably still name their kids Jason, but I don't know. It's just one of those names which I thought was kind of like, you know, average name. There's lots of Jasons, but it's just one of those. It's like James, right? James is the same. It's been in the top 10 boys' names for probably 25 decades. It's just one of those names. So I put that in there. And then I think when I recorded the first Guy Decides Packaging, I did a couple in a row. I thought the first one, he didn't have a name. And then I thought he needs to be spitting his water at someone by calling him a name. So that was just Jason. And then fast forward a couple of years, we put on a show, the comedy show they've just done, Meanwhile in Australia Live. And lo and behold, we go through the promoter, get everything signed up, whatever. Who's going to do the lighting? We got Jason back. The original Jason. And so in the show, I literally look at Jason at the back of the thing and tell him to shut up at the start of every show.
I love it. I love the basis of that. We've got another question from, I'm going to try and pronounce this, Molly K0605. How did you go about adapting videos into the book? Love your content, Jimmy. Been watching since Giggle and Hoot. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for watching since Giggle and Hoot. I don't know if you were a parent watching Giggle and Hoot, but I met some guys today. I was helping around today, and they're like, "No, we watched Giggle and Hoot from when we were like 5, and now we're like 16." I'm like, that makes me feel old. How did I go adapting them? Yeah, well, like I said, I had some like scripts and things like in this big Dropbox folder. And I just thought I have to sift through all of these and try and format them. What I did realize through the process was, I'm not very organized. At least I saved them, which was like, thank you Dropbox for that. Kudos for the memory, having everything stored there. But yeah, I think adapting it to the book was what I really wanted to have in the book. I guess was a bit of fun with the actual text. Put some pictures in there, make it like a script. You can have a bit of back and forth. There's some like bits in there where the guy decides it's just being obnoxious and like shut up and going on holidays or whatever, you know, just stupid things. Yeah, that was it kind of all came together when I started sifting through these scripts and going, oh, yeah, okay, that can go into the book. This could be a new bit. This could be a bit that's like from a video, but it's got some extra bits in there. And maybe it'll be fun to have a bit of dialogue through here. And yeah, so it was strange to adapt because it wasn't like we picked one format and just went, okay, that's for everything. It was just some little bits and pieces, and we could put more in, subtract some bits out, and yeah.
Oh, I love it. It's great. Fiona, who you just said happy birthday to, has actually asked the question, do you actually put gin in your glass during the live show?
There's one show where the staging guy actually put gin in there. But that was just for one. And then I knew they were going to do it at some point. Because, you know, this is something that was new to me as well. There was always gin backstage because my manager was like, well, you got to have a writer. This is your show now. Like, this is because we would have done tours before with Giggle and Hoot, and it's probably a bit strange that the guy from Giggle and Hoot is a kid's show has got like beers and stuff in his rider, you know, in his dressing room. So I was like, oh, there was none of that ever, and they were like day shows. But anyway, so he's like, I'll write a thing for you. You just need some, you know, some water, some gin. Yeah, I'll put some out, a couple of beers in the fridge for everyone, you know, after the show, sort of thing. So there was always gin lying around, and I knew it was only a matter of time before the fake gin bottle, like the gin bottle we had, which was usually filled with water, was gonna be filled with gin. And it did catch me by surprise, but I did smell it as I was pouring it. And I'm like, you bastards, you've got me. And then I had to sit there and literally drink the whole thing. Well, I didn't drink as much as I did that night, and I purposely didn't pour as much in, but I literally sit there for like 20 minutes just sipping on this thing. Oh, funny. So yeah, one time, Fiona.
One time. I love it. We got a question from Halo and Mercy fan. Do you have a favorite part of the book?
Oh yeah. I don't actually. I think I just, you know, what I enjoyed was, you know, because it kind of goes off to the publisher, and what I enjoyed also about my kids' books as well, Bedtime Sorted and Dinner Sorted, is that it kind of goes off to the illustrator and it comes back and it's like brought to life. And I guess that, you know, maybe a usual, most books, 90% of books or whatever, don't have pictures in them and random text and things like that. So, and it would come back and it would just be formatted as, you know, in chapters, and that's what it is. But I really enjoyed the sort of process of it being a bit weird and, you know, like just not conforming, and having a forward at the front, which is completely obnoxious. Like on the cover, you know, it's like, shut up, Jason, or whatever. But in the press release and stuff as well, it's like, Jason doesn't recommend it. It's just, you know, like, who puts that on? Who doesn't recommend their book on the cover of their book? You know, it's silly, you know, stuff like that. So I enjoyed a little bit of the fun that the guys had with, you know, putting the text together as well. I think that was the whole thing was fun. But yeah, just it all coming together was probably the thing I enjoyed the most. Kind of seeing it in the flesh and going, yeah, that's good. We're on the same wavelength, you know, and all that sort of stuff.
Love it. We've been getting a lot of questions actually around when you're going to be traveling to Western Australia or to Melbourne or whatever. But I love this one from Beck Sawyer. Would you perform at the Frankston Arts Centre?
Would I perform at the Frankston Arts Centre is actually that's where I first tread the boards back in my high school days. The Frankston Arts Centre. Yeah, of course I would. But there was actually talk of doing that at the end of the tour this time, but it just kind of didn't work out. I had some other things going. So, but I almost did finish off the tour at Old Faithful Frankston Arts Centre, which is abbreviated to FAC, which I won't say out loud. And yes, I would. Of course I would. Yeah, no, that's kind of home for me. Yeah. But not now. Like maybe next time. Maybe next year. Yes, maybe next year.
Love it. We've got probably time for maybe one or two more questions from our audience. One from Douglas Roth. Hey, Jimmy, love your videos. I actually went to the same school as you, and I was just wondering, how did you come up with a character?
I remember you, Douglas Roth, and your brothers, mostly brothers. Yes, your brother was in my ear, correct me if I'm wrong. How do I come up with a character? Okay. How do I come up with a character? Usually things are based on life, right? The guy decides, I kind of noticed the packaging was weird. And it started as the guy decides packaging, which was, you know, I literally was doing this last night. There's large cans of tuna have a ring pull thing. Small cans of tuna have a ring pull. Baked beans, corn, anything that's in a can has a ring pull thing, except beetroot. You need a can opener for beetroot. You could throw the can opener away if the one company who makes beetroot could just put the thing on it. So it's like, why? Someone's making these decisions. They're clearly drunk. They're clearly under the influence of something. And I guess that's where it came from. I guess you could say those things just as I said it just then and not have a character. But I think I find enjoyment in putting a character and then having a dialogue with myself. So that actually excites me and makes it more fun for me to write a script and then set some. I think they come out organically, but like set some boundaries for the character is also fun. Like Jason is always agreeable. He will never lose his cool, and always be berated by the guy who decides it's completely obnoxious, spits in his face, which was extra funny through the pandemic. I mean, because people are like, should he be wearing a mask? And then once you break those things, you know, like if the guy who decides does kind of just go, oh yeah, you're right, Jason, and then he goes, oh wait, am I right? And then he goes, no, you know, it creates another piece of comedy, I guess. And then on the other flip side, if Jason then cracks it and loses his mind and starts drinking and becoming the guy who decides, that's also funny. But if you didn't do that, if I didn't create the character, then those things don't, you know what I mean? Like just quickly on the character thing, like, and it was sort of born out of a situation. The Brighton Ladies, and people might have heard this before, me talk about this before, but the Brighton Ladies were actually, you know, it was a discussion I was having, or like someone sent me an idea of like in Brighton in the middle of the pandemic, which is an affluent suburb of Melbourne, all the ladies of Brighton who are trying to look younger by having Botox and lip fillers and, you know, like, and dressing nicely and getting designer clothing and driving expensive cars and getting their nails done and all this sort of time, which is, you know, a demographic. They were eligible to have the vaccine, the AstraZeneca vaccine, which was only for over 55-year-olds at the time. But they're all trying to look younger, so like no one wants to admit that they've had it because then they're revealing their age. And I'm like, oh, that's really funny. So the whole premise of the Brighton Ladies was like they're discussing how they can get the Pfizer because that was for younger people, you know, and not the AstraZeneca because at the time in Victoria, you could only get it if you were over 50 or something. So it just lends itself to like a funny situation. And yeah, so I created some characters around that. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. We've got probably time for one more question, which was a question that was approached from Rosanna J. Hunt. There's actually probably one or two. We've got one. Oh, we've got two. We'll do two.
Yeah. We'll do a couple more, yeah.
Similar to the book, do you have a favorite video that you've created over the last couple of years that you look back at and you go, wow, that's actually a really good video?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny to say like the guy who decides packaging, because in terms of like the quality of the video, you know, like I have a new camera, I use more lights and stuff, and I enjoy that stuff. I worked in 10 years of TV. I enjoy the actual craft of like the look of a video, and like I've even got lights on now, like I can't help it, you know. Even though I'm recording on the face sporting camera of my iPhone, you know, I would love to hook my camera up if we were doing it on another platform, but that's the guy who decides Instagram. That's another video. I enjoy that. So although you know, like I look at it and go, oh, and even the editing and stuff is not quite as pacey as I do now, I do think that video was actually something that, that observational kind of comedy, I guess, which people find super relatable. That was a video that kind of went exponentially well on my channels and got shared around the world, and people who'd never been introduced to my stuff prior to that, which was a lot of parenting focused kind of stuff, really saw me as like, oh, that's really, can do more, you know. I can't believe I got invited off the back of those videos. I got invited to a packaging conference in Las Vegas. Like, I obviously couldn't go because I was locked in Victoria for years, but just like, that's how crazy it kind of went, you know, like around and touched different areas. And it seemed like those things were kind of prevalent around the world. It wasn't just bespoke to Australia. maybe the Vegemite reference went over their head or whatever, but it's still, yeah. And I remember I put Canada in one of those things because then I started researching, oh, imagine if I could put a few more world things in there. And Canada, well, back in the day, I think it's less common now, but in Canada, they actually sell milk in bags. Like there's 1 litre bags, like an actual bag full of thing, and then they put the bag in a jug and cut the corner off, and then it pours out of the. That's like, and then they sell those 3 bags. They sell them as 3 packs. So there's 3 1-litre bags in a bigger bag, and then they take that home and they put it in the fridge. And I'm like, what? So then all of a sudden, people from Canada were like, "This is us." So bizarre. But that one was one of the.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like from all of our comments, it sounds like there's a lot of people tuning in from America, and I've seen a couple of people asking, "Are you going to actually be able to make it over there for a tour?"
Go to the US, yeah. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Hello from New York. Hello from America.
Do you think you'll get? Do you think you'll get the chance to go over to America?
Oh, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting because a lot of the stuff I create, I guess, is very Australia focused, and I know there's lots of people from America, and shout out to everyone all over the States. Oh, and Canada and everywhere else. But I just if I went over there, I feel like it would be like one of those things where you read the comments and you're like, oh yeah, I could go to America, and then there's like the 18 people who commented. That's all of them there at an event, and I'm like, oh, maybe I overestimated the amount of people from America watching. They're just very vocal, which is yeah. Hello, everyone from New York. Hello.
I love it. All right, last question. We have one last question from fangirls_podcast, which I love this one because as the bookstore that we are, what are you reading right now? Do you have any book recommendations?
It is so funny that you asked this because I am not the most avid reader, and even if I had time to read, I'm usually reading children's books to my kids. So I cannot recommend really anything at the moment. But one of my all-time, I love sort of like comedy books. So what I need is recommendations to me because I haven't, I'm one of those people who will go on a holiday when there's actual peace, and I'll be like, okay, it's time to read a book. But I haven't done that in so long. I need some good books. One of the things, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I remember when I was younger, like that was just the book which I completely wet myself laughing. It's such a small book. It's so silly, and it really hit it really made me think, oh, this is really silly. And I don't know, that's my book. It's a classic, and it's so ridiculous, and it's really quite short, but it's, to me, the whale falling out of the sky bit in that just really set me up. I'm like, that is my kind of humor, and that is so ridiculously funny. Yeah. So I don't really have book recommendations like current books, but I do. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I also did this thing where I would when I was at school. This is so silly to admit, but I'd be like, I feel like there was a couple in a row where I like picked up Harry Potter, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read Harry Potter, and then the films came out, and I was like, oh. Like at the same time, I'm like, oh, I didn't time this very well. Get halfway through, I'm like, yeah, but then I saw the thing, and I'm like, oh, that ruined that bit. But oh,
I love it. I love it. And hey, there's nothing wrong with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You will never. There will be no person in this world who will say that Hitchhiker's isn't absolutely amazing. Highly recommended. So good book pick. I know that I could honestly chat to you all day, but I'm aware that you are a very, very busy man. People to see, places to go. So I'll finish up by saying thank you so much. It's been absolutely awesome chatting to you. If you think The Guy Who Decides, just for everyone watching, go add The Guy Who Decides to your shopping list. Personally recommended. I've been having a great time reading it. You can also go and check out Jimmy's show on Binge as well. Signed copies are still available of the book, and over at booktopia.com.au. Jimmy, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, mate, and thank you to Booktopia for having me in to sign all those books. And they like handcuffed me to the table and said, "You will sign them." And no, that's not what happened. No. Thank you, thanks, Booktopia. You've been a good supporter of mine for the for this book and my kids' books as well. So I appreciate appreciate all the effort you put into as well. Yeah, go grab something on Booktopia, everyone. I will speak to you soon. Right now, I have got a couple of radio interviews, but I'm also going to clean up my studio here because it's an absolute tip.
I absolutely love it. Thank you so much, Jimmy. It's been a pleasure chatting with you, and all the rest. I hope you have an awesome day.
Awesome. Thanks, mate. All right, see you guys. Bye. See ya.
Bye.